All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to DEscussions, the podcast where we explore the intersection of education, technology, and the innovation to spark ideas and conversations to drive meaningful change. I'm Brad Denison, your host and EdTech enthusiast, here to share voices that are transforming the way we teach and learn, and sometimes quite literally. Today, I'm joined by Colleen Sandquist from ReadSpeaker. They are a leader in voice technology that's redefining how learners engage with content. In today's episode, we're going to look at the origin of ReadSpeaker, from its early days built on voice actors and storytelling to its evolution into a cutting-edge AI tool focused on accessibility and inclusion. We'll talk about the ethical use of AI in education, the value of bringing human-centered design into digital learning, and why supporting learners from twinkles to wrinkles is more than just a clever phrase, it's a mission. So before we dive in, Colleen, is there anything I missed there on the introduction?
No, that sounds great. Brad, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and have this great discussion with you and share what I know about ReadSpeaker.
Yeah, and that's a really good introduction for me for this first part, right? Not everybody may know exactly what ReadSpeaker is, so this is your opportunity to tell y'all's story a little bit. Talk about the tool, but what is the origin story about y'all's background, and how is that rooted in human voice actors and storytelling?
Yeah, so thanks for the opportunity. ReadSpeaker is a best-in-class voice company. So basically, we can provide voice wherever it is you need it, whether we're talking about education, we're talking about business, we're talking about publishing, gaming. We have the ability to provide voice and really bring your content to life. Our parent company is Hoya Voice, and so we are the ReadSpeaker division, and we are best-in-class voice technology. And my focus is on the education vertical. So we look at different ways that we can support learners, faculty, staff, administration when it comes to voice and content.
So then, Colleen, when you talk about all these things that ReadSpeaker is doing, how has that mission evolved over time? And what right now continues to drive the work that y'all are doing in education?
So we have always been about accessibility and making content available to learners in a way that suits either their learning preference or their learning need. And so when we start with voice, we're actually going to the core of the company, and we're taking that and using it as kind of a catalyst to help learners engage with content, as I said, that best fits their style or their need.
And it's not just a voice. I mean, there's more tools in there. We've been using this platform, College of the Mainland, for coming up on 2 years, I want to say now. And there is a lot more to it. Could you touch base a little bit more on what is it besides just that narration function?
Absolutely, absolutely. So when we talk about the education vertical, we are talking about text to speech, be it online, offline, regardless of the device. So we're providing that streaming content of information. And in addition to that, we also have got focus tools, we have customization options for learners, we have language support for our language learners. So we're really building out, or have built out, a fully supportive platform for learners that may have different learning challenges.
And so, when y'all are going about introducing a new voice, there's a framework around that. But y'all are still y'all do introduce other functionality as well, correct? It's not just about the voices. It's not just about the new voice. It's always seems like, are y'all working on more and more accessibility functionality?
Absolutely, absolutely. So when it comes to the voice, we really like to, first of all, we start with voice actors. So we're looking for people who are indigenous to the locations around the world where we are looking to create a voice from. So what that does is it gives people the opportunity to hear content delivered in a way that is personalized and how they can relate to that, because it sounds like me. It sounds like the learner. As I said, we start with voice actors, and they work with our voice team. And in the simplest terms, we are going to take that monologue and we're going to slice and dice it into all the different phenoms, and then use that AI and machine learning to kind of weave that voice back together and make a beautiful speech engine. Having said that, what that does is it gives us the ability to customize the voice experience. So not only can the learner customize how they're interacting with the tool in their academic environment, the institution can also customize what that voice says, or how it is pronouncing a particular word, or if there is a common acronym that's used across the campus or in a particular program. We can do some customization there. So it's a beautiful opportunity for institutions across the country and around the world to really make that content come alive in a meaningful way for their learners.
I like it because I know a lot of our faculty, they try to be intensive, they try to be forward thinking with their universal design aspect of their courses, right? But there's more to it than just that. I mean, even myself, if I'm making a presentation for a conference, I believe I shared with you that I like to use ReadSpeaker to put my script in, have it recorded as an MP3 file, and then I've got something to study, something to rehearse, something to go back to over and over and over. And I've been doing that with ReadSpeaker as long as I can remember, honestly, for something like as long as we've had it. So there's other one-offs and one uses. It's not just ADA. My question becomes like, are there other kind of scenarios out there? Like, are there unique use cases outside of the expected that you're aware of?
So you do bring up a really good point when we talk about alternative ways to engage with content. And our tool provides a number of different ways. Let's focus on the language. So if we have learners who are, English is not their primary language. They do very well reading, but maybe they just need a little content reinforcement. We have got translation available. So we can translate content into over 65 different languages. We offer 200 plus voices that are available, and that would be dependent upon which direction your institution wanted to go in. So we don't provide all 200 for everybody, but you can select as the, you can select voices. The administration can select voices.
Works for me.
Then when it comes to the languages, we are also producing those voices in the different languages. So again, if a learner is in need of some language support, if they can comprehend better in their own language, we can translate for them as well. Additionally, if we have learners that are low vision, we have enlarged text available. And we also, I was doing a webinar with a library association, and there was another panelist that had done some really interesting research about the benefits of enlarged text when it comes to not only low vision, but comprehension in general. And I thought that was really very interesting. So we do provide that enlarged text feature as well. And you had mentioned the download to the MP3. We know that our learners are more diverse today than they ever have been before. And actually, I was at a conference just last week, and an author was talking about the new majority learner. And I thought that was really interesting. So we're looking at not only our traditional students that are coming right out of K-12 and heading into higher ed, but the learners that are going back to school. Maybe they are I am an adult who has a job and I'm going back to upskill so I can make advances when it comes to economic growth. I am a learner who is caring for elderly parents. I am a mom with 3 children. I got to get to soccer practice. And as you mentioned, you know, downloading that information to an MP3, making it available auditorily, gives learners the opportunity to engage with that content when it fits their schedule. Not everyone is sitting in a classroom or at home on a device where they're engaging with their content. It needs to be available to kind of meet the learner where they're at. And especially with this new learner majority, that content, the variation of the content delivery is so very important.
I like it. And that's going to give us a second here to just reconnect, let everybody know what's going on. You're listening to DEscussions. I'm Brad Denison, your average host, talking to exceptionally intelligent people. Today, I've got Colleen Sandquist from ReadSpeaker, and we are talking about their platform. We're talking a little bit about AI, and we're going to transition into, Colleen, I want to ask, what is this idea behind Hoya Voice? And how do you determine where voice technology can make the biggest impact in a learning environment?
So I think that the biggest impact that we can make is we can make that content available to learners auditorily. And we've talked about a couple of scenarios, making it available through the MP3 download, but also what that can do is it can help learners really identify with the content when they hear a human sounding voice. It is beautiful intonation, and so it really resonates with the learner. And a great way for learners to actually re-engage with content is through the learning preferences and choices that are available to them, and they can switch up the voice. They can go from male to female. They can bring in a British accent or an Australian accent. And also, when we are talking about delivering content in another language, so think of our world language courses, if we are delivering content in Spanish, providing a Spanish voice to support those language, I don't want to say language learners, but those that are learning a second language, getting all of that academic support as well, word by word highlighting, the read aloud in the content in the voice, the language that the content is delivered in also is impactful.
I like it. And you're touching base and you're talking about language and you're talking about, you're even talking about inclination of like tones depending on regionally where you're at in the United States, right? And one thing, I'm going to segue, it's going to make sense. One thing that's popularized this year has been, Google's Notebook LM, where faculty can do something like provide their syllabus and they end up with a AI voiced podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a fun trick, but it's missing some vital things.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm thinking, well, you could just take that transcript, put it into ReadSpeaker and get it into multiple languages, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, what do y'all think as y'all are paying attention to the new tools that are coming up and how there's got to be something that's kind of like, oh, they thought of that. And then there's got to be something that's part of like, ooh, we want to steal that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So y'all have got to be paying attention to what's going on. So how does that go?
So we are really paying attention. And if you're not looking at AI and incorporating that into tools that are being created, we're going to be left behind. We have to be innovating. We have to be watching what's going on in the market, and then also incorporating some innovation from a ReadSpeaker perspective into new tools. And actually, it's very exciting. We do have a new tool that is going to be coming out a little bit later this year, and we will be using the AI technology. We're going to be doing some great stuff in the realm of student success. So I am not going to tell anymore, but I can just say, keep your eyes open for a new tool that we'll be launching here a little bit later this year.
I love it. Big fan of teasers. So
Yeah.
let's get into a little bit of a topic on AI then that we can touch a little more depth on. So as AI continues to evolve, How does ReadSpeaker approach the ethical development and use of AI-generated voices in education?
So we do use AI very ethically. And I touched on this a little bit in the beginning of the show, where we start with voice actors. We are not using, we are not cloning voices. We are not creating voices strictly from AI. So we start with people, because that is who we are. ReadSpeaker is a company that really is focusing on learners, focusing on doing the right thing when it comes to being in the ed tech space. We want to be sure that everyone is getting their due. So we do start with the ethical approach, with a signed contract with a voice actor, indigenous from the area we are looking to create a voice from, and then we take it from there. When it comes to the voices, we're looking at using AI and machine learning, weaving those tones or phenoms back together again. So we are really trying to stay ethical when it comes to creating these voices and using them in our products.
I really appreciate that. And it's long in my past. I thought radio was my thing. I thought voice acting was my thing. And I laughed because I recently found an old box of cassette tapes of old air checks. And I realized that I could, if I could find a way to get cassette tapes digital, right? I could give that to an AI and they would have a decade of my voice to build on. But that's me, that's my voice, that's what I can do. And so it's really important that companies like ReadSpeaker are taking that ethical stance and making sure to protect that for lack of a better phrasing, intellectual property of that other people's voices.
Absolutely, absolutely. And an interesting side note, my father also did some voiceover work. And so I do have some CDs of his as well. So it's interesting that you bring that up. He's no longer with us, so I'd love to, I love to have that available.
Oh, that's special. I love it. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So we're going to move into talking about your catchphrase. If it's not trademarked, if it's not on t-shirts, you're doing something wrong. So you described ReadSpeaker as supporting learners from twinkles to wrinkles. What does that look like in practice? And why is lifelong learning such a key part of your vision?
It's such a great question. And for me personally, lifelong learning is it is who I am, along with the accessibility piece to give people an opportunity to become lifelong learners. The reason why I say twinkles to wrinkles is because we can support the very young learner. If we think about when our children are young and they can't yet read, what do? As a parent, we read to our children in the very basic form of, that auditory input. So we can support learners that are in the K-12 environment across platforms and be able to give them the access they need in order to succeed. And then we work through that, we work through that into the higher ed realm, because we all know that our learning challenges don't leave us when we graduate from high school. They don't. Whether it's a disability or a preference, it comes with us. So through the higher ed, we have an opportunity through the integration to be able to support learners and really help them find ways to meaningfully engage. Then we move on to, let's talk about, I'm graduating from college, now I'm in the workforce. We are looking at ways to support upskilling through different courses, through QM, Quality Matters. They have some online courses. Our partners at CAST, online courses to really build that UDL foundation. And CourseArc. We are embedded in these platforms. So as people are engaging with content as an adult, we can support them there. But also when it comes to people who are at work. There are learning management systems in government and in business, which I was not aware of before I started at ReadSpeaker. It was a whole new thing for me. But content is delivered through the learning management systems, even in the workplace environment. So we talk about that. And actually, someone could go right to our website and sign up for a trial or get access to our products and be able to support themselves outside of a structured environment. So that's why I say twinkles to wrinkles, because we just want to be sure that we are supporting learners regardless of where they are in their journey, because learning it's a journey. We're never done.
It's a good stance. Never stop learning and never stop helping others get it figured out too, right? So I really appreciate that stance. And I'm going to ask, we've covered quite a bit, and you were probably the first one. I'll say this, we've actually planned out more content for later, but I hope to have you back. Before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to add that we've gone through that conversation, anything that I might have missed out on?
I think that you did a really great job. Let me think here for a moment. No, I think we're all set. I'm looking forward to coming back and talking with you more. We do have some additional content coming, so that'll be great. We'll dive in.
Fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to DEscussions. Your lowly host, Brad Denison here. I've had a great time chatting with Colleen Sandquist about ReadSpeaker and really just accessibility, about voices and AI and a whole bunch of other things. If you ended up at the end and you don't know what we just talked about, you should just hit rewind, I guess. But nonetheless, thank you for joining us, Colleen, and thank you for listening to our show today, y'all. Again, Colleen, thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.